lastly is, this comment is on behalf of a lot of citizens, is I am frustrated and citizens are frustrated that our city hasn't done any sort of lawsuit against Hyperion. We're having to rely on private individuals to bring this lawsuit upon. And I've heard that we can't do a lawsuit, but I'm not fully understanding why we can't, because the city of El Segundo did a lawsuit against LAX's stipulated settlement agreement. They also threatened a lawsuit against the Landside Access Modernization Program, LAMP. So there's been many times where our city's done lawsuits against LAX. So it's very confusing to me that we're not legally pushing back on Hyperion, and the residents are having to take it into their own hands. And lastly, is I just want to follow up on my comment with Diane.
And there were references made to the city suing LAX over a number of items. And it is true that the city has sued or contemplated suing and or has sued LAX at times in the past regarding operations that are contemplated or planned at that airport pursuant to a land use process where they were studying the potential increase in flights at the facility, and as part of the land use process and the environmental review, the city weighed in with comments and concerns, which led to, again, either threats of litigation or actual litigation. And those were based upon representing what would be, in a broader sense, a public nuisance to all of the residents. Those lawsuits weren't seeking any sort of damages on behalf of the residents, monetary compensation for any harm suffered to the residents or anything of that nature. They were prophylactic in nature and trying to prevent a broad nuisance to the city, noise, toxins coming out of the airport, traffic, those kind of impacts on the city. With regard to Hyperion, to the extent the questions aimed at individual issues that individuals are suffering, as far as damages, whether they've been had to relocate for a period of time, each individual may have health issues that are unique to the individuals, and to the extent there are any damages for those types of injuries, the city doesn't have the ability legally to file lawsuits on behalf of individuals for damages. Now, in theory, if the city could show that after this accident occurred, or whether it was accident intentional or whatnot, I don't know all the details of what exactly went wrong at Hyperion, but let's just call it an accident. That after that occurred, if the city was not convinced that, and I know that public works staff and the city manager have been working very diligent to talk with Hyperion daily or very frequently about what actions are being taken as far as cleaning up after the accident to try to get the odors back under control. If the city could prove that, in fact, that Hyperion is not moving quickly to try to correct the problem, then in theory the city could sue Hyperion over that issue. It would take a lot of data and information and experts to do that. I mean, it is a possibility, but it's my understanding that at least staff thinks that they are moving swiftly to try to correct the problem. It doesn't in any way minimize the impact on the residents and how egregious all of this has been, but just try to explain the city can look at an overall nuisance and try to attack that to try to stop some sort of conduct, but it can't sue on behalf of residents for individual damages. Hopefully that's helpful and addresses the question.